To celebrate our son's high school graduation, we planned a family trip to Thailand in June. Since traveling from Washington, D.C. to Thailand is quite a long journey, we decided to take the most affordable option, flying with Turkish Airlines and making a stopover in Istanbul. The tickets were reasonably priced, around $1,500 per person. We departed from Dulles Airport at night and arrived in Istanbul the following afternoon after a 10-hour flight. It was our first time flying with Turkish Airlines. Most of the passengers were transiting through Istanbul to other destinations, so the flight was a bit noisy and hectic, but the service and flight itself were perfectly fine. Istanbul Airport was incredibly large and spacious. Despite its size, it wasn't as crowded as I had expected. Since our flight to Bangkok was scheduled for the following day, we needed to stay overnight at a hotel near the airport. We tried to take an Uber, as I had heard it was available, but no cars ever showed up, even after a long wait. Later, we learned that Uber is no longer allowed to pick up passengers directly from the airport. While Uber drivers can drop off passengers at the airport, picking up passengers from the airport seems to be prohibited and possibly even illegal. It looked like the police were monitoring this. Not knowing this, we tried using the Uber app several times, but the rides kept getting cancelled, and we ended up wasting a lot of time. Eventually, we had to take a regular airport taxi to get to our hotel. Although we had installed both the Uber and ByTaxi apps in advance, neither worked properly at the airport, which was a bit frustrating. Also, since our hotel was only about 10 minutes away, the taxi driver didn't seem very happy about such a short trip from the airport. To make things more uncomfortable, the taxi driver didn't turn on the air conditioning despite the hot weather. Instead, he rolled down the windows and drove with the breeze coming in. It was dusty and still quite hot, so we're surprised. This was the first time we had experienced something like that. As we drove toward our hotel, we became even more startled by the condition of the surroundings. The road was unpaved and rough, and the area looked poorly maintained and a bit messy. It was quite a shock to see such a rundown neighborhood so close to the airport. Only later did we realize that the airport is located in an underdeveloped part of the city. We also learned afterward that in Turkey, some taxi drivers choose not to use air conditioning in order to save on fuel costs. Still, riding on that bumpy, unpaved road in the heat was a nerve-wracking experience for us. We arrived at the Menlo Hotel Premium Istanbul Airport Hotel, which turned out to be a newly built and modern-looking hotel. However, the road leading to the hotel was still unpaved and rough. When we searched for a hotel near the airport, there weren't many good options, and since we had city card points available, we decided to book this one. We didn't realize how rundown the surrounding area would be. Online reviews and the hotel's website mostly show sleek photos of the building and rooms, so the hotel itself appears fine at first glance, and in reality, the hotel was indeed clean and modern inside. But the road getting there was extremely rough, and the surroundings were completely barren and deserted. There was absolutely nothing nearby. The hotel's exterior design was somewhat unique and stylish, but it stood out oddly against the empty, undeveloped landscape. This hotel seemed to mainly cater to travelers using the airport, and since there was absolutely nothing around it, we had to dine inside the hotel. The restaurant itself had a nice atmosphere and the staff were friendly. We ordered burgers for dinner, and although the price was quite high, the taste was excellent. You could really tell that the quality of Turkish ingredients is very high. One thing to note is that all payments at the restaurant had to be made in euros. The next morning, we had a traditional Turkish breakfast included with our stay, but the portion wasn't very large. Since the hotel was located in such a remote area, it was difficult to get a taxi, so we had to purchase the hotel's shuttle service to get back to the airport. It took about 15 minutes, and the shuttle cost around 30 euros. We got the impression that the hotel, while close to the airport, was run in a very commercial way. Our first impression upon arriving in Istanbul was that everything felt overly commercialized. We had a quick meal at the IGA lounge in Istanbul Airport. The lounge was extremely crowded and felt quite chaotic. We departed from Istanbul in the afternoon and arrived in Bangkok in the morning after a little over 9 hours. After collecting our luggage at Bangkok Airport, we headed up to the fourth floor to check in for our domestic flight to Phuket with Thai Vietjet Air. The round-trip ticket was very affordable, only about $50 per person. We had a quick meal and some rest at the Miracle Lounge before our next flight. We arrived in Phuket after about an hour-and-a-half flight. I took a photo of the beautiful ocean color from the airplane. For this trip to Thailand, we had great help from my husband's friend, a professor at Chulalongkorn University. Thanks to her, we were introduced to a hotel in Phuket and also arranged for airport pickup. When we arrived at Phuket Airport, a van taxi driver was already waiting for us inside the terminal. It took about 50 minutes to get to our hotel, Cantry Bay Hotel Phuket. However, since the Bolt app works very well in Thailand, it's easy to get a taxi anytime without much hassle. Cantry Bay Hotel Phuket was recommended by my husband's friend, who suggested a quieter area with fewer tourists. However, since the weather was hot, we were a bit surprised to find that we had to carry our luggage up the stairs from the parking area to the check-in space. The check-in area was also open air, so it felt quite warm. Still, the staff were very friendly and helpful. The room was very spacious and comfortable, making it a great place for a family stay. There was an ocean right in front of the hotel, but since it was quite hot, we didn't go out often. On the first day, we were quite tired from all the traveling, so we just took some time to rest and recover. On the first evening, we decided to visit the famous old town for dinner. As soon as we arrived in Phuket, we started using an eSIM purchased from travel-esim.net. We took a taxi using the Bolt app and arrived in Old Town in about 20 minutes. The ride cost around 260 baht. Even at night, the area was bustling with people, and it seemed like most tourists really enjoyed the vibe there. There were lots of popular restaurants, but we just walked around and explored the area without settling on one. We couldn't decide where to eat, and as we kept walking, the weather felt too hot, so we quickly stepped into a nearby place called Tu Cab Cow Restaurant Phuket. Later, we found out it was actually a Michelin-recommended restaurant. What a lucky find! We had our first meal in Phuket at this restaurant, and everything, from the curry to the stir-fried vegetables, was delicious. One of their signature dishes, the deep-fried prawns with tamarind sauce, was especially good. It seems to be one of their most popular items, and it definitely lived up to the hype. There was another curry dish that seemed to be meant to eat with noodles. The curry was a bit salty, but overall, we really enjoyed the meal. Just being able to eat in a cool, comfortable place made the experience even better. Both the watermelon juice and mango juice were also delicious. After dinner, we stopped by Tian Tian Phuket Dessert Cafe, which was right next door. It served traditional Chinese-style desserts, and we tried one that was similar to shaved ice. It wasn't too sweet and had a refreshing icy texture, which made it a perfect, light way to end the meal. Then we took a short taxi ride, about 8 minutes, to Decathlon Phuket, which closes at 10 p.m., just in time for a quick shopping trip. I bought several t-shirts and shorts for my son and husband. The quality was great for the price, making it a worthwhile stop. We took a taxi back to the hotel, which took about 30 minutes. The fare was around 300 baht. That's how we wrapped up our first day in Phuket. The next morning, we had breakfast at the hotel. It was much more generous than expected, with a wide variety of options and good taste. During our 3-night stay, we enjoyed the breakfast every morning and ate very well. We decided to try a massage in Phuket, so the whole family went to one family massage and spa right next to the hotel. The prices were very affordable, around 400 baht for an hour. The massage was very relaxing, and the staff was friendly, so both my husband and I were very satisfied. We also often stopped by the 7-Eleven convenience store near the hotel to pick up some simple items. The Cantry Bay Hotel Phuket is partnered with the nearby Cape Panwa Hotel, allowing guests to use their private beach. So, we took the shuttle provided by the hotel and went to Cape Panwa Hotel. Once there, we took the tram to the beach. The beach was quiet since it was reserved for hotel guests, and the view was beautiful. However, since we're not big on outdoor activities, we didn't stay for long. The hot weather also made it difficult to spend much time there. We went back to the hotel and then headed out for lunch. Just a 2-minute walk from the hotel, we found an Indian restaurant called Live India Indian Restaurant. The food was all delicious, but since it was an open-air restaurant without air conditioning, it was uncomfortably hot. In the evening, we took a taxi to Padang Beach, the most vibrant and lively area in Phuket. It took about 50 minutes and cost around 750 baht. As we got closer to Padang Beach, the area became much busier with lots of people and heavy traffic. We also briefly explored the Jungseelan shopping mall, located nearby. Just a 3-minute walk from Jungseelan, we passed by Bangla Night Market, which had a lot of street food options. However, we skipped it because eating in such a crowded street didn't feel very clean or comfortable. Then we headed to Bangla Road, where there were many bars and clubs with women standing outside trying to attract customers. I bought a pair of slippers on the spot, and ended up using them throughout the rest of the trip. It was quite an interesting and new sight, so we walked through once out of curiosity. My husband and son were also intrigued. We had dinner at a place called First Seafood, located about a 4-minute walk from Jungseelan. There were so many seafood restaurants in the area that it was hard to choose, so we walked around until we spotted this one with a colorful seafood display out front. The restaurant served both Chinese and Thai-style dishes, and everything we ordered was fresh and delicious. There was an air-conditioned dining area inside, which made the experience even more comfortable. After that, we took a taxi from in front of Jungseelan and returned to our hotel. The ride took about 45 minutes and cost around 440 baht. On our last day in Phuket, we went on a PP Island tour. There were so many tour options that it was hard to choose. Since it was our first time, we simply picked the most popular one on klook.com. It was the PP, Maya Area, Kai and Bamboo Island Day Tour operated by a local company called Yacht Master. The price was very cheap, about $51 per person, including lunch. For hotel transfer, we just paid an extra 100 baht per person, and later, we also paid a national park fee of 400 baht each. A van picked us up from our hotel around 8 a.m., and it took about 20 minutes to get to a place called Boat Ramp Pier. After checking in at Boat Ramp Pier, we were offered a simple breakfast and drinks while waiting. A tour guide explained the course and handed out snorkeling gear. The itinerary was set in the order of Ko Kai, PP Don, and PP Le. Once the yacht arrived at the pier, we lined up to board. Since this is a common departure point for many group tours, the area was quite crowded and lively with many people getting ready to board different yachts. The yacht was larger than expected and could accommodate many passengers. Each traveling group was assigned their own seating area, and life jackets for snorkeling were provided to everyone. There was a captain operating the yacht, along with a guide who gave explanations throughout the tour, and additional staff to assist passengers. The first stop was Ko Kai, Kai Island. As the yacht approached the island, we had to get off directly into the water. Near the beach, there were many vendors and staff trying to attract tourists, creating a lively and somewhat crowded atmosphere. The color of the sea itself was beautiful. However, since many tourists stopped by this island, there were a lot of vendors promoting jet skis, banana boats, and other water activities. It's a very small island, so after dipping our feet in the water for a bit, there wasn't much else to do. Even the beach chairs laid out along the shore had to be rented. Since the weather was so hot, we just went into one of the nearby shops, ordered some drinks, and sat down to pass the time. We got back on the yacht and traveled for quite a while until we reached PP Don. Near Nui Beach, the yacht stopped as we approached small islands, and the crew kindly took photos for us. Since the weather was great, the photos turned out beautifully. Then we headed toward Monkey Beach, where we had our first snorkeling session. Our son swims so well that he didn't even need snorkeling gear, he just swam freely and had a great time. My husband also enjoyed snorkeling, but since it was my first time, I found it a bit scary and couldn't do much. Still, it was a unique experience to see fish underwater. The water isn't crystal clear all the time, and sometimes it can be a bit murky depending on the conditions. They also took us around the island to show us some fascinating caves and unique rock formations. It was interesting to see the natural beauty and dramatic landscape of the area from the boat. The PP Islands consist of PP Don and PP Le. First, the yacht headed to PP Don, where we had lunch. PP Don is where all the hotels, restaurants, shops, and bars are located, so many travelers stay here. Most people disembark at Tunside Pier, but our yacht dropped us off slightly to the left of the pier. The yacht was anchored close to the shore, but we had to jump into the water to reach land. We followed the staff to the lunch venue, a buffet restaurant located just to the right of PP Mayata Resort. There were many group tourists, and the food was served abundantly. After lunch, before heading back to the yacht, we wanted a refreshing iced coffee, so stopped by the nearby Little Monkey Cafe. There was no air conditioning there either. We then headed to our final destination, PP Le. Our first stop was Pile Lagoon. As we entered, the color of the water became more and more beautiful. When we arrived at Pile Lagoon, we were greeted by the stunning emerald-colored water. The color was so beautiful, it left us in awe. This place could truly be called the highlight of the trip. The staff also took photos for us, and thanks to the good weather, the pictures turned out great. For our second snorkeling stop, we headed to Pile Bay. My son had a great time during the second snorkeling session as well, enjoying every moment with excitement. The yacht dropped us off again at the Maya Bay Pier on PP Le, where you can enter Maya Bay. Occasionally, the yacht also provided us with some fruit. Maya Bay, made famous by the movie The Beach, is always crowded with tourists. Visitors enter in groups, following a designated path. Along the way, there's a meeting point and restroom facilities. Finally, it starts to come into view. Maya Bay is currently off-limits to visitors in order to preserve its natural beauty. You can't enter the beach, but you can take beautiful photos of the stunning scenery. Perhaps due to the large number of visitors, I noticed some bits of trash on the sand, which was a bit disappointing. We returned to the yacht and headed back to the pier. On the way, the captain played upbeat music, and all the passengers sang along and had a great time together. When we arrived at Boat Ramp Pier, the staff handed out Magnum ice cream to the passengers. After a long day of activities, we got back into the van and returned to the hotel. Tired from the tour, we decided to relax at the hotel on our last evening. There was a night market set up right in front of the hotel, so we grabbed a simple dinner there, pad thai and grilled chicken. To our surprise, it was the best pad thai we've ever had, even better than what we'd tasted at upscale restaurants. The flavor truly amazed us. The next morning, we took a taxi to Phuket Airport, which took about an hour. We spent our time at the Coral Executive Lounge, which was very comfortable and quiet, a perfect place to relax before the flight. We took Thai Viet Jet Air and arrived in Bangkok after a 1 hour and 15-minute flight. Spending just 3 days in Phuket to visit the Old Town, Patong Beach, and take a PP Islands tour felt a bit too short. Traveling all the way from the US via Istanbul made the journey quite long and a bit exhausting. Once in Phuket, though we didn't stay at a luxury hotel or dine at high-end restaurants, we felt we had a truly local experience. The cost of living was low, and the people were incredibly kind and welcoming. Taxis were reliable and punctual, so we had no issues getting around. Most of all, the food was outstanding, every single dish was delicious. Since it was our first visit to Phuket, we tried to experience as much as possible. But if we go again, we'd prefer to stay in one place and enjoy a slower, more relaxing pace without trying to do everything. We had high expectations for the PP Islands tour, but because it was a group tour, we ended up visiting some spots we didn't care for and had to move and act on a set schedule, which didn't quite suit us. It was one of our first experiences joining a group tour, and we realized it's probably not for us. We wouldn't choose it again. For anyone planning to visit Phuket, I would recommend picking just one or two highlights and taking a private tour instead of joining a group one. It'll make the trip much more enjoyable, especially for families like ours who don't enjoy hot weather and aren't big fans of outdoor activities. Having access to cool, air-conditioned indoor facilities is essential. It really makes a difference in how comfortable and enjoyable the trip feels.